Hi, I'm Friar Tuck. This is my epoch, and I cover homeless advocacy and awareness. And you may be asking yourself, why are people homeless? Why is the homeless crisis expanding? There's a lot of different reasons why the homeless crisis is expanding. And this is just going to be one of many videos in where I'm going to be talking about this subject, okay? Because there's a lot of people out there that think that if you're homeless, it means that you're lazy and that you're you're a drug addict and things like that. And that's just not true. Okay, it may have been true in the 60s and 70s and maybe even in the early 80s, but in the 80s, when the government decided to start getting involved in the homeless issue through, taxation, through like not-for-profits and, cities providing shelters and all kinds of things like that, it is kind of what has destroyed the system. If you look at the Department of Education, what has happened since the government has taken over education? Our students are getting stupider, they have less skills, they're being indoctrinated, but they're not getting anything that's actually going to assist them later on in life, okay? And so why would it be any different when it comes to the homeless issue? There's a lot of different things that are contributing to homelessness. Right now, one of the biggest contributors to homelessness is rising rent costs. I think it's for every $100 that rent goes up, the homeless population expands by 9%. Now, rent has doubled and tripled, so we're looking at the homeless population has expanded by over 100%. Why is this happening? Because wages are not going up, but the prices of things are going up, okay? And so this means that people are going to have to be making a choice. Do I eat and live, or do I pay rent and have creature comforts and all of that? And there's a lot of people that are struggling with this because, we have been raised from the beginning that we need to be there to, pay rent, buy a car, buy a house, do all that stuff. And then when you can't do that, or you're being forced to choose between survival and living the way that the society expects you to do, it's going to cause a conundrum mentally and emotionally, okay? There's other things that are actually causing homelessness as well. So you may say, oh, well, they're all drug addicts. Well, what about the pharmaceutical companies? Did you know that that there is a certain number of people that they expect to become addicted and to become part of the opium epidemic just because of their prescriptions, and they just kind of consider it collateral damage? And so, like, you have these doctors along with these pharmaceutical companies, even though the government has put a lot of regulations in there, it still doesn't fix all the attrition that happened beforehand. It just kind of lightens the blow a little bit further down the road. But then it's also causing a lot of our doctors, because of malpractice, because they're doing what the pharmaceuticals are telling them to do, and they're following the science, but yet they're not getting accurate science. And so therefore these doctors are having to pay for large they're having to pay large settlements or constant settlements because of natural mistakes that happen. And so not only is it putting our dogs, or excuse me, not only is it putting patients in a predicament. What about what happened in the early 2000s with Ritalin and Adderall? It created a whole generation of meth addicts. You had parents, or you had teachers that wanted the boys, because it predominantly happened to the boys, because boys are energetic. They need to run around, they need to play and stuff like that. Girls will sit down and they can be idle, because that's girls have that ability. It's whatever you want to say, okay? So the teachers, instead of realizing that they were dealing with boys, they just said, let's give them a pill so that the student will sit down and pay attention and do what I want them to do, instead of realizing that as a young boy, you're gonna have a lot of energy. It's it's part of our role within nature, okay? And so the teacher says to the parent, I think your kid has ADD. Parent goes to the doctor. Doctor says, well, okay, ADD, and gives your kid Ritalin. Well, the thing is, they found out years later that the only way that they can officially diagnose ADD and ADHD is to do a brain scan. Okay, so all of these kids that were misdiagnosed, what about the class action lawsuits that go along with all of that? and how that's affecting the doctors as well, because as far as the new science was going, it was just saying, yeah, go ahead and just give them Adderall. And so a lot of kids who did not need it were getting legalized methamphetamine. They were getting pharmaceutical grade methamphetamine, better stuff than Hitler was able to give the Blitzkrieg, okay, and because this is pharmaceutical grade. And so now you have a whole generation of millennials, a good 10-20% of them that will forever be dealing with addiction to methamphetamines. Okay, so that is another thing that is contributing to homeless. Now, did these kids become drug addicts on their own? No. This is the consequences of the decisions of others, because the system told us, trust us, we know what we're doing. And instead of doing your due diligence, we just took it hook, line, and sinker. I know when my son was born and we were going through the whole vaccination process, me and my ex-wife started questioning a couple of these vaccines, and all of a sudden we were chastised as anti-vaxxers, and they were talking about calling CPS on us because we wouldn't do what the doctors told us to do. Okay, so even if you stand up nowadays, you can't. Otherwise, you may lose your child. And so you have these things that are contributing to the overall cause of homelessness. Another thing that is causing homelessness, we have a lot of dangerous jobs, and men tend to do a lot of dangerous jobs. That's why men are pretty dominant out here in the homeless cycle, because a lot came out here for a work injury. What made me homeless the first time was a work injury. Whether it be physical or other. For me, I had a gun discharge on me while I was loading a plane. Bullet went through the pit, landed an 18-month-old little girl's diaper bag. For other people, like my friend Puckett, his back gave out laying fence post, and things like that. And you can't work, and the system is not geared up to help you along the way. And if you apply for disability, you come out, because I've watched this with several people, you go in where if they were to give you disability and do a rehab program, there's a 50% chance that you might actually be able to no longer need the disability, but you're disabled enough to where it's affecting you. But by the time they actually get around to approving you, you're 10 times worse than when you started, and so therefore you get to live a meaningless life, because of you were injured on the job or something along those lines. You were in a really bad accident or whatever, because there's very few things that they give an automatic approval for when it comes to disability. Okay, cancer is one of them. Okay, but by that point in time, when they give it to you, you're terminal and you got less than 6 months to live anyway. So they're just giving you a little bit of what you put into it, just so that they can say, hey, we did something. Okay, so, and then, not only that, you have senior citizens. Yes, they're getting their cost of living, but the way that the politicians robbed the Social Security fund, you're having these senior citizens that are getting less benefits than they should be getting, because if they would have properly managed the system, they would have been getting enough to be able to keep up not only with inflation, but the cost of living and all these other things. Okay, and so you have a large section of senior citizens on Social Security that are being forced to, because your phone bill's $100 just for a phone bill. Even if you get like subsidies and stuff, they can only bring it down to maybe $50. Okay, and when you're living off of $800-900 a month and your rent is $700-800 a month, how do you do anything? And then they don't even give you much in food stamps. So the senior citizen community is getting decimated as well. And so those are a lot of the people that end up going out and becoming homeless, but also those are the people that end up getting housed quicker, because the whole Housing First initiative is only housing people that have that have an income. If you have the ability to get back into the workforce, no, they don't want you. But if you're getting a government benefit, which means that they're going to be able to get paid for the rest of your life, then you're going to get the help you need. So senior citizens are getting help, but you're having 3 people being put in a 3-bedroom apartment, and they have to roommate just so that they can survive and have $200 or $300 at the end of the month to be able to pay whatever bill that they have, whether it be car insurance, buying a bus pass, if you have local bus in your area and things like that. So if you're asking yourself, why are people homeless? There's a lot of reasons why people are homeless. It has nothing really to do with drug addiction and being lazy. Back in the day, that may have been the thing during the 60s and 70s, during the hippie revolution. And then not only that, you had a lot of soldiers coming back from Vietnam that were involved in the black market trade that was bringing all those drugs from Vietnam into the United States, especially like heroin and different kinds of opium. Those guys ended up out on the streets as well because they ended up playing too much in their own product or getting addicted while they were in country as a way to be able to cope. And so there's a lot of different reasons why people used to become homeless, but that is no longer the facts. Okay, so you guys know how to help the channel. I am doing a fundraiser to get me and Sam into a van, hopefully before the end of winter, so that we're not going to freeze our butts off and we can do the things that we need to do. So my GoFundMe is down in the description. If you'd like to help the channel out other ways, become a subscriber, leave a comment, make sure to share the video, and I've also got memberships. Everything's down in the description. Thank you for helping, guys. Thank you for being here, and I hope that this helped open your eyes to what's really causing homeless and why there are people that are becoming homeless, especially in what people consider the richest country on earth. We shouldn't have homeless. Well, just because you have money doesn't mean your house is in order.